Welcome to the Win All Day Everyday podcast presented by Prairie Hockey Academy. My name is Barrett Kropp, and I'm joined by my co-host, Justin Simpkins, the director of Prairie Hockey Academy. And the genesis of the podcast, for those out there listening in Spotify and YouTube and whatnot, is we just want to bring the common sense approach to the game of hockey and sports in general. We want to talk about how to develop leaders on and off the ice, help them push towards the edge of excellence, and also tell some stories about Prairie Hockey Academy in the midst of it all. So we're really excited about today's guest. Today's guest, like many of the coaches we've had on before, had a great junior experience. They were, they played junior, they went to university, they were leaders along the way, they won championships, and then realized at some point their playing days were over and they shifted to coaching, and that level of excellence does not drop off. And so from some of our previous guests that we've had on, like Scott Barney and Braden Klamosko, of course, Dave King last week, so many great players have transitioned into the coaching world. And Karl Taylor is no different. Karl, after he was done at UNB and winning a championship there, went on to coach, was a coach of the year at the CIS level. I coached against him at Red Deer College in the ACAC. He went on to the East Coast with Reading and a few other programs, then on to the American Hockey League, where he is now with the Milwaukee Admirals, with previous stops in places like Chicago and Texas. So, Karl, we are excited to have you on the show today. We look forward to chatting with you over the next 45 minutes and unpacking some of that greatness that you bring to the table in the coaching world. So welcome to the show.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate the time and excited to share a little bit of the stuff I've stolen from really good other people in the world and the mentors I've had, and a little bit of my own flavor as well.
Yeah, Karl, it's excited to have you here. I know you're not a stranger to Prairie Hockey Academy, and myself. We've had the privilege of having conversations, and you've been to our Royden Taylor Golf Classic before in the past, and had a couple nephews come through our program with both Jackson and Evan Allen, and I've appreciated what you've given to our players at times with a couple of Zoom calls that you've educated them and just talked to them about some of the things that you were passionate about, but to have the chance to have you now speak to our listeners and people that are out there today. We're really excited to hear some of those ideas. And I know that you're just going to shoot from your heart. I don't want to say your hip. I think you're pretty passionate about things, and you're going to speak what's on your heart. And so we're thankful for that today.
Yeah, for sure. There's only one way to go about this business. Coaching's a hard business. Obviously, I'm doing it professionally now. So there's a lot of different challenges with that. But when you put your heart behind anything, like you mentioned, typically it's going to go in a positive manner. And if you don't set limits on how much you're going to care about the people that you're involved with, whether it's players or staff, you're definitely going to find a way to impact people. And that's what coaching is. It's teaching, it's impacting, it's having an opportunity to help the people around you reach for new standards, but also to enjoy what they're doing each and every day.
Yeah, that's a great way to kick off the podcast, is just talking about that passion that coaches bring to the table, at least the successful ones that I've encountered. And you're on the road right now, Karl. Tell us where are you at right now? Looks like you might be setting up shop in the bowels of the arena.
We're in Old Ryko Coliseum. I think it's called Coca-Cola Coliseum now. We're in Toronto. We're going to be playing the Marlies tomorrow. So we flew in last night. We'll have a practice today and some video sessions, get the guys ready for a good Toronto team. But we're back in Canada, which is always a good feeling, and back in my home province of Ontario.
What are your expectations on the season? Like, is it, last year you had a deep run there in the playoffs, and have you lost a lot of those players to the parent club, or have you maintained some of that talent?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference in the American Hockey League, as far as Major, Junior, or the National Hockey League, we don't stack on our coaching each year because your roster changes so much. So each year is a restart. We do have some returning players. We do have a lot of young forwards this year, so we'll have a little pain early just with them adjusting. But we understand that as a staff. The good news is they're a very talented group. It's just going to take them a little bit of time to get up and running. So we want to build on last year, no question. We made it to the Final Four in the American Hockey League. We played hockey to the middle of June, so that's a special season, even though we didn't get the result we wanted in the end. But we look at it different ways. We look at the Nashville Predators right now, and there's multiple guys littering the roster right now that were a part of our team last year, but also part of us in the past. They're having success in helping them retool in Nashville. So we take a lot of pride in that. But looking at our season, we're 1-1 to start out of the gates. We just don't have enough water under the bridge to really make an evaluation yet. We'll see if we get a little more action coming up here. It's been a slow start to the season as far as games.
You know, I was just actually away at a leadership super conference this past weekend in Vancouver, and we were talking about just coaching and learning to care, as much as you can. And so just talking, what you're saying rings true with everything I was listening to this weekend. And it was a lot of it was about culture. And part of me, when you're talking about, you don't have the ability to build on year after year. One question just pops out is, what in that scenario, what do you do to establish culture for the Milwaukee Admirals? Because you have to welcome in a new group each year. And so I think there's some intentionality that probably takes place there.
Yeah, for sure. So myself and Scott Nickel, this is our 6th season together. Scott became the general manager when I was hired for this position 6 years ago. So we both talk about it quite a bit. We have established a really solid winning culture, but also the environment we have in the locker room through the players we get on our roster, through how we approach things. Mistakes I made in Red Deer way back when in the ACAC was, you think after 1 year you've established work ethic, habit, all these different things that you learn when you're a young coach. And the painful learning for me was that every season you have to reestablish those habits because people are different. Even if you have the same people returning, they're older, they're different, they have a different view on things. The messaging isn't as fresh. So I think you have to go back to the well and restart each year to establish what you're looking for as a coaching staff. But as far as the environment we've created here, it's really important for us to empower the locker room. We want the leaders in the room. We want players to understand this is your career. Nobody cares more about it than you guys. So you got to stand up for yourself. You got to get into that coach's office, kick some tables over, and have some hard conversations and make sure that you are getting the answers you're looking for. Don't allow us to tell you to keep working hard. You need specific answers from us to get what you want out of it. Hold us accountable. It's something we talk to the players a lot about. And I think from that, it allows us to stay out of the locker room as a coaching staff. We kind of see the coaches as the fun police sometimes. So we want to stay out of there and allow the leaders to run the room. As a coach, you only get so many opportunities to correct people, and we don't want to use them for minor things that our leadership group can handle. So we really turn the room over. We really empower the group, and we empower the individuals as well to hold us accountable.
That's great.
That's great advice. I mean, even when I think of us at the academy and we're turning our players over, as much as we want retention, and we're excited when retention happens, we're still bringing in probably 40% of a new, student athlete every year. And so that's a great reminder from myself and the rest of our coaching staff is just, we got to continue to hammer down on our culture. And so I appreciate that word of advice.
Yeah, it's you can't put enough time into it. And I early on, we do a big barbecue at my house. We host everyone and families, and some of the older guys have children, so they're welcome to that event as well to get everyone mixing early in the season. I believe in team building kind of through your season more than events. Even though we do set up a few things for them to do, we're not focused on ropes courses and all these different things all the time. I believe the process of the season will drive that internally. But we definitely set up the odd thing for that. But every year you're starting over, you really got to go back to the basics, in my opinion, as you're trying to build that foundation early in the season.
You've had some success as a coach at both university and coach of the year at the American League level. That was back right before COVID, right? 1920. Coming out of COVID, have you noticed, some change in some personnel in terms of how players are acting or just responding to different challenges? Is there anything that you've had to adjust to from a coaching perspective?
Yeah, I think my kids were in high school, my personal family. They were in high school at the time, and it was a struggle for everyone in different areas. From a hockey perspective, we were the best team in the league. And our season got canceled. So you don't get many opportunities to win a championship. So we missed out on that. That was disappointing for the organization. But I think the players coming out of that and the mental health has been in the hockey culture and the environment the last 10 years has been a topic with Bell Talk and all the different programs that are out there. It's more of something that we openly discuss. I think COVID really enhanced that focus, and you see a lot of organizations have brought in more people, more outside help, having people available to assist players with any type of issues that are maybe they don't want to share with your coach because they're worried about the organization, how they view things. So I think it's very important that you have some independent people around that gives them that safe space. And if they want to share certain things, COVID was really difficult for a lot of people. We all know how difficult that situation was for a number of reasons, but I think it's really changed how we approach things and how we're focused on trying to get a read and understanding and suggesting people maybe talk to some people. So make sure that they have an outlet and they're not stuck in a dark place.
Yeah. And if we could just go back to last year's playoffs, I don't want to bring up bad memories on you, but
they're good memories now.
Yeah, that's true. I had the opportunity to see your team down in that series against Coachella, and it was great hockey. The Coachella environment, they've really built in a very short window a great culture of fan experience and whatnot. But getting to the Final Four, being as close as you guys were, even up against Coachella, what are some things that you learned in that playoff run that you're going to bring into this year's, whether it's your coaching, is there some new systems, new way that you're going to challenge the players? Like what do you feel that you guys need to do to get over that hump to go beyond the Final Four?
Yeah, it's hard to, because of the turnover. We have, I think, 10 returning players, and we've had 16 players move on. So the group is much different, but for personal growth through that experience, like you said, Palm Springs, the arena was fantastic. And we knew going in the first two games, we were going to be a little bit shocked with the environment, no matter what we said. We even prepped them with some of the not Field of Dreams, but the Kevin Costner movie where he says, clear the mechanism, and trying to lock out some of the things that you see. We use movie clips a lot to try to reach the players. Unfortunately, The ones I like are a little dated, so they're like, what is this movie? As I get older, it's harder to relate. But anyways, the challenge from the series, the fans, the environment was fantastic. A very good team as well. Obviously, I think you're at Game 6, and that was the end note for us, unfortunately. But we pushed hard at the end. We just couldn't find that equalizer. They're a good team. We could have went on and won a championship, but we didn't. We're very proud of what we did. To build on this year, you take your lessons learned and you try to, the group that did return, you talk about having them understand that we want to make that next step, but we can't make that next step until we make playoffs. We're one win, one loss into the season. It's a long road. We have no idea how it's going to unfold in front of us. But we're very excited to have another opportunity to have a run together and to try to go a little deeper, even though playing hockey in June is pretty deep.
Yeah, it was, especially when the temperatures are over 100 degrees there. It's unreal.
Yeah, sure.
And For Love of the Game is the movie that you're.
Thanks.
It's my favorite movie of all time. And even for our academy at our preseason retreat, we walked our athletes through some of that mental mindset, and we used that exact clip and talked about clearing the mechanism. So it's pretty cool to hear that you were using the same video clip to challenge your players.
No, it's I find anything you can do to keep their attention. And one thing I've learned, a childhood friend I grew up with, Mike O'Shea, coaches a team down the road from you guys. They've had a pretty good 6-year run in Winnipeg. So he's had a heck of a career as a coach in the CFL. We talk a lot and try to share some information. He's a guy that he tries to talk a little less so his voice doesn't get old. And I think that's important as a head coach. We really empower our assistants and have them deliver some messaging so it's not always your voice. I think using movie clips and other things can also back yourself out of situations and allow a different voice to sell the message that you're trying to. Just keeps it fresh. It's a long season. There's lots of things that you're going to be discussing with the players. Sometimes it's just good to have a fresh view and a fresh voice. And if it ends up being a video clip, great.
I think one of the pieces I'm really interested in, I mean, it's great with Mike O'Shea, and you're right. He has had we're trying to talk about the Blue Bombers a whole lot here, but he has he has had a great run. They've been extremely successful. And I think it's important that as coaches that we have that even multi-sport facet where we're learning from guys like, how does a guy like Mike O'Shea manage, a roster of this many coaches and this many players? Because it's just, that you can learn from that as as we in the hockey world don't quite have as many assistants and things like that.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. I think I pick his brain on it, but it's such a different sport. It's so scripted with all these starts and stops.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about that. He asks a lot of stuff about like during a game, making adjustments in hockey because they get a whistle every time, right? So and they have all these situational things that they pre-planned for. Whatever the situation is, they'll have different plays that are ready to play, and then they got to make that selection based on how the game's unfolded in front of them on that day. As far as manipulating and using his staff properly and having them, I believe Mike empowers his staff a lot. I think he's a group talker. He likes to hold the final word, make sure that it's very consistent in front of the group, so there's no mixed messages. And I think that's something I've stolen from him a little bit, is just less words and more important words so that they carry a little longer in people's minds. And that's something, after being here for 6 years, we've had some players for multiple years, that you have to find different ways to keep them motivated so they don't get your words don't become stale. So I think Mike's done that in Winnipeg quite well.
So coaching in the AHL, I just want to jump into another one. I mean, you talked a little bit about the turnover with 16 players this past year turning over. What is your main job when you coach in the AHL? Is it to win a championship? Is it to develop AHL players? In a way, from the outside looking in, it would seem to me that you're keenly aware of the fact that you're trying to get players off of your roster and onto the Predators roster.
Yeah, I think you can do both. I know lots of people say it's this or that. We want to win in Milwaukee. Let's not kid ourselves. That is a huge focus for us. And as a coaching staff, that's important for our own personal career and our own path. So that's part of what we do. We want to develop players. We want to make players better. We want to increase the asset value of everybody in our locker room, whether it's an athletic trainer or a player. So as a staff, we really invest in both areas. You got the player area, you got the team area, but there's times where you have to balance it. Like the player is always focused on his own career more, and there's days we're going to ask him to focus on team more. And so we go back and forth with individual verbal contracts with each guy, and we try to work through different situations. So every player is in a different area. We have Cal O'Reilly, he's 37 years old. He's a veteran guy. He's returned to our team this year. So for him, our individual contract is hey, let's get you a couple more years in the American League. Let's get you to stay here. Let's get your family established. Whereas the 20-year-old first-round pick we have, like a Kimmel, we're trying to help him get to the National Hockey League. So everybody is playing for something. We make sure that we are invested in every single player, not just the high draft pick. So every player in this room is getting equal attention for different reasons. There might be players in our room that are trying to move on to Europe and to complete their career there. Whatever they're trying to do, we want to walk with them, and we want to assist them to get what they want. Now, the team and what we need is always balancing the team needs versus the players' needs. So it's always a push and pull and a give and take. We're a group that we understand in the pro level. If our players get points, they get paid more. Like, that's a reality. It's money in their wallet. So those things are important. So we have a system in place that allows us to change stats if they're incorrect, or plus minuses, or the old saying of the only points that matter are the 2 points. That's not a reality anymore. It's real dollar and cents at our level. We recognize it as a staff, and I think it assists us that the players understand that we're in their back, helping them in those areas, and not putting them in spots where they feel they're, I'm selfish if I say I need something. So for us, we balance it all the time. We're going to win here. We're going to focus on winning. When the game starts, that's the goal of the day. Early in the season, there might be some developmental losses. And when I say that, we put young players in spots where they might have success or they might not. As the season moves on, we trend away from that. Once we get to April, May, and June, we're here to win. And So hopefully with the help of all the young prospects, but sometimes there's hard decisions that have to be made that will change your roster. But it's with both balancing the development, but also balancing the need of winning and having an organization that, if you look back on the 6 years here in Milwaukee, I think we've done both very well. And that's a real credit to management and also our coaching staff and the players and how hard they've worked.
Yeah, I appreciate that, that statement of even just letting guys make those mistakes, and you got to put them in those tough spots and see if they can handle that kind of pressure, right? I know my time out at Cherney Western, we love to give even the freshmen coming in those opportunities, and we shared the arena there in Vancouver with the Vancouver Giants. And so Michael Dick, who you probably just played against last night or playing tonight with the Marlies there, I remember just, being a fly on the wall in his coach's office and him just talking about, they have to play their 16-year-old kid over the 20-year-old because they have to find out if this guy can play. And so we're in the same boat at the academy. We want to make sure that the players are coming in and getting those opportunities to play. Parents are investing some significant money and resources to have them here, a lot of sacrifice to leave their families. And, we have to make sure as coaches, even at our level, that we're giving our players every opportunity. Sorry, just lost my voice there, but
I'll take over. Yeah, making sure that we put our student athletes in those spots and have those opportunities, like you're saying. And as things ramp up for us into late March when our playoffs are, that's where you've made your observations, you've made your corrections throughout the year, and now our goal is to win a championship every year, right? No different than the Milwaukee Admirals. That's our goal.
Yeah, you ever want a player to come back and say, you didn't give me a chance? Like, that's the point where you feel maybe as a coach you missed the boat or you missed an opportunity to assist someone. I want the player to feel like they've been given lots of opportunity, lots of areas to get better at. There's a balance there. There's a true balance in trying to figure out when is that opportunity enough and when have you seen enough. For me, it's a small example, but last year at the deadline, Nashville kind of traded a bunch of guys. We had 8 of our top 10 scorers go to Nashville. So now you play the next day. So, okay, how are you going to win today, right? So anyways, the bottom line is when that happened, even if there was players in my bottom 6 that wanted a bigger opportunity, guess what? They got it, right? So
right.
Depending on the situation, even if I didn't want to give it to them as a coach, they got that opportunity with the movement that we face at this level that is out of our control. And so are you going to grab it when it's presented? Are you going to be ready for that time when it is there? Like the lifelong question in coaching is, hey, why am I not on the power play? We've all heard that one a million times. Mm-hmm. And so it's real easy. It's just, hey, you're not on the power play because of A, B, and C. Okay, fine. If you go work on 1, 2, and 3, and then you'll be ready for this chance if it gets presented. The hard part for players in that situation is the patience. Our power play has been top 5 of the last 6 years in the American Hockey League. And so if we're running hot and that player does A, B, and C and does 1, 2, and 3, that doesn't mean it's going to be there for him when he's done that. It's now they have to be patient for the opportunity to be presented. Last year at the deadline, that's what happened. And a lot of players stepped up and took our power play actually around 34% over the 6 weeks when we lost those 8 of our 10 top scorers. So it was just a situation where they just needed an opportunity. They were ready for it. They prepped for it. And our power play actually increased over that time. So it's a hard balance, but for me, it's helping those players be ready when the opportunity knocks.
That's good. I want to go back to a story that you told me 5 years ago, and you might remember, you might not, but I think I think it speaks to, when I look at it 5 years later, I think it speaks to your ability to have these tough conversations about A, B, and C, and having the player do 1, 2, 3, and then your ability to develop NHL players and increase the asset value of everyone in your organization. I think that's been proven true, or the Nashville Predators organization wouldn't have felt the comfort probably to move what they moved last year. One of the players they moved was a young man that came through Moose Jaw, a Saskatchewan boy, and he came through the Milwaukee Admirals organization and became a very effective player for the Predators organization, so much so that somebody paid them a lot of money or a lot of assets to acquire him at the trade deadline. And so I think you know who I'm talking about, but before he arrived in Nashville, he was never known as the Ox from Oxbow. And I think there was something about conversations you had with that young man that helped him come to that identity.
There's no question. We all loved Tanner the day he got here. He was a free agent signing, undrafted. Same in the Western League. Fitness awards named after him. You just talk about this guy all day long. And we have our first meeting of the year, my first year in Milwaukee, and we always tell the players, look, this is your career. You need to drive it. Make sure you ask questions, hold us accountable, ask the hard questions. Nothing's personal. We'll walk with you. And as soon as the meeting was over, he said, let's go. I go for walkabouts around the bottom of the rink with players and have conversations on certain days just to see how things are going. And he was my first victim on that day. And we went for a walk on his request. And his question was, how do I not go to the East Coast Hockey League? And it was day one of camp. We haven't even been on the ice yet. So he was aware of his situation, that he was trying to stay there. And he wanted to ask those questions. I didn't have a very good answer for him because I didn't know him as a player yet. So we walked through it. And Tanner is someone who is always asking good questions and hard questions. We all know about his professionalism and how he goes about his business. He just grinded away. He ended up going to the East Coast League for a little bit. And then, when he got his chance in Nashville, he obviously ran with it. So great story. Love the individual. I use him as an example multiple times with different players of the same type of cut from the same cloth as he is in the type of role and what they need to do and about his path. And so he's a special individual, that's for sure. And he's someone I'm cheering for every time I see him play, unless they're playing Nashville.
Yeah, and for anybody that didn't hear that, that's Tanner Jeannot, who played with the Moose Jaw Warriors from Oxbow, Saskatchewan. And I think you really, in a way, Karl, you're not going to take credit for this. Tanner obviously made the choices to take some advice and really dig into it. But I think you called him up in a lot of ways in regards to his compete level, because he was an excellent player in the Western League here with Moose Jaw, but his compete level and his physicality took a whole new level under you and your staff in Milwaukee.
Yeah, he's I don't know what he is. He's 5-6% body fat, fitness.
Yeah.
Controls everything he can. Every morning walks in the rink. His hair is fixed. He's not coming in with a toque on to hide his hairdo. He's been in the shower. He's had his breakfast. He's prepared and ready to go. He's going to maximize his day. So I appreciate the kind words, but in the end, Tanner is the individual that we helped him. We might have steered him. He's going to maximize whatever he had to offer, no matter what the situation was, because that's the way he went about his business. So that's what we try to ask our players. How do you maximize the opportunity you've been given? You can whine or complain about it, but how are you going to maximize and demand more? We talk about the American Hockey League, pro hockey. You want more ice? Well, you got to take it from someone. So you got to kick someone else off the chair. That's just the way it works and the way it is. And that's why it's so competitive and so hard for young players coming in who have played junior hockey and had a lot of success. They just haven't had a lot of failure. And so the new situation we deal with a lot is just understanding that failure is okay. It's going to happen. You're going to struggle. Don't go and read the comments online. Just stay in the moment. Let's focus on what we're doing. So we have six of our top 9 forwards are first-year players this year, and young high picks. And so lots of expectations. But the American Hockey League is very hard. These kids come out of junior. They never live on their own. Now they got to lease an apartment. Now they have to do all these different things that's all new to them. Let alone remember the guy moving from Russia, Finland, or Sweden, where they're coming to a new country and a new language. So it's very challenging for these individuals. So we try to make them comfortable to know, hey, you're going to struggle some days, no problem. It's what you're going to do when you hit that pothole is going to define you. So we try to support them and make sure they know failure, struggles, that's all normal. You're right on the right path to where you're going.
In your coaching journey, going from the college ranks to the pro ranks, and even your time recruiting at, to Red Deer, recruiting players at UNB. What are some things that you were looking for in an athlete there, and what sort of separates a college university junior player to that pro player? Like, what are some things that are really standout elements that you'd say, well, man, like in order to play college, I was looking for this, but in order to come to the American League and beyond, you have to be this?
Yeah, I would say there's all those normal answers, good people, and all the things we always say. Obviously, we all want those items. For me, it depends on your organization and how you want your team to play. The one year I was in Portland, I worked with Mike Johnson, who's been a mentor for a number of years for me. And something Mike did in Portland that I've moved forward with is, he just had a list of things that he wanted our team. This is how we play. And so I've carried that forward. I've changed it to fit what I want. And so I have a list that I want our team to play a certain way. And then I have a little list of how I want us to act as well, whether that's a culture document or what have you. So those are two things that we use as guides as we're going through things. So in Portland, everybody in the organization knew we wanted to have a fast skating attack puck possession team. That's who we were. So when we were making draft picks or our scouts were out watching games, they were looking for players that would fit what we were trying to do as a team and what Mike wanted. So the whole organization knew exactly how the Portland Winterhawks wanted to play. They're still playing the same way. They're off to a great start again. And they're looking for a certain type of player that fits the mold for how Mike wants that team to play. So I think that direction is critical outside of all the normal things we're looking for. In Waterloo, when I was recruiting to the university there, it's a very challenging school to get into. So academically, it's hard to find hockey players with 85 plus high school averages coming out of junior hockey. It's just there's too much travel. There's a lot of challenges with that. So for me, coming from the ACAC, I kind of hit the lottery because there was a transfer rule where they would be eligible with 65. And so for me, I really hit the college ranks hard and took a lot of guys to Waterloo. Plus, it was from my backyard. And so I was able to get a lot of people into a great school that were academically ineligible with their high school marks, but because they had done university courses, they filled in. And so outside of that, I ended up having a lot of PhDs. And I say this quite a bit. We all love people that have PhDs, poor, hungry, and driven. And they're trying to get after something and get something done. When you've been at the buffet for a couple of weeks, you tend to lose that game because you're feeling good about yourself. And that's always the coach's balance is, how do we keep these guys poor, hungry, and driven? And for me, poor isn't a financial thing. It's just a state of mind of wanting more. And I stole that out of a Rick Pitino book back in the day, but it's something I really enjoy. And I think it's a good way of looking at things. And if you have guys that are poor PhDs, you're going to have a team that's going to push each other. And so if I was recruiting today, I don't recruit our roster now. Management gives me what I get, and then we make the most of it. So we're not recruiting in that area anymore, other than me behind the scenes telling them to get this guy or that guy and being a pain in his butt. But yeah, PhDs, poor, hungry, and driven players, or anyone in this walks of life who has that attitude is usually going to overachieve with what they have to offer.
Yeah, that's brilliant. What other set of advice would you pass along? This is kind of that segment of the show where we just ask our guests to kind of help out with some pieces of information for players, parents, and coaches, stemming from, whether it be, a guy going from junior to try to sign as a free agent, or if he's a draft pick, what would be some advice for that level of player, but also for a younger U18, a U15 type player? What is something you'd give them, 2 months into their season? Maybe, they're a 500 hockey club at this point. They're maybe struggling a little bit, maybe not scoring, maybe not doing the things that they feel they should be. What would you pass on as words of wisdom to those?
Yeah, I think it's different depending on what level you're at. But with youth hockey, I think for the coaches at the youth level, I would say give your parents more time than you think you should. I think the cost of hockey these days is extreme, and so there's some servicing that should be done with that, in my opinion. So coaches, there's always like coaches and refs, and then coaches and parents at the youth level. There's no reason for it to be a adversarial relationship. So I just think you need to give them a little more time, have conversations. Don't sneak out the back door. Go through the lobby and have those talks. And yeah, there's always one or two that might be difficult, but I think there's a lot of really good people that just in the end, they just love their kids and they want their kids to have success. Misguided at times, me included. My son's been through a lot of stuff. But just give us more time. Take a breath and give parents a little more time when it comes to providing information. If there's something you can share about their experience with their son or daughter, I think that's critical. I would tell youth players, invest in themselves and you get what you want out of it. Tanner Jeannot is a great example. He outworked everyone that I ever had on a team that he was on. So weird, he made it. So it doesn't always work out that way. But if you invest in yourself, then you're going to give yourself an opportunity to reach your limit, whatever that may be. And if you don't know what your limit is, it's our job as coaches to try to get you to strive for a higher level than you currently are. And that's the art of coaching, in my opinion. For parents, I would say make sure you support your youth player, but enjoy the games. Like, just go and enjoy what it is. The odds of them moving on, obviously, are very challenging. When you think of all the junior teams and then how many kids actually get drafted or get to the American Hockey League, there's players in the East Coast Hockey League that have come out of Canadian University, 4 years of Major A, 4 years of Canadian University, and they don't even get a chance in the American Hockey League. So it's very, very, very difficult. There's a ton of hockey players out there. Just understand that it's a hard path. It's a long road. I'm not trying to shake anyone off of it, but just to understand everyone has their own development path. We all want it to be a perfect line like this, but it doesn't work that way. It's a little jagged, and whatever level you're at, everyone has their own path and how they develop and how they get to where they're trying to get. But enjoy the ride. I know I've lots of windshield time with my son, driving around, doing all those things. Make sure you grab those moments. And for me, with my son, it was a little different when it came to hockey. I tried not to coach him because that's what I do. I just wanted to be his dad, but it's challenging at times. So just the best advice I got when you get in after a game, just one question you're allowed to ask your kid is, what do you want to eat?
That's right. Karl, this has been really great. I think before we close, I just, obviously, your wife's from Davidson, Saskatchewan. You married a gal from Saskatchewan here. You have a son and a daughter. I think they've gotten to know a little bit about your heart here and just your transformational mindset when it comes to coaching and relationships with the athletes that you have and working with them to just care for them and want the best for them to help them get to the next level. And Karl, outside of the rink, I think, golf a little bit, but I think, you told me theater, musical is kind of one of your passions. It sounds like something, maybe a getaway with your family, a chance to get away from the rink.
Yeah, so golf, I don't golf enough. I want to golf more. I really enjoy it. I think our staff went and played Whistling Straits here this summer, so that was kind of a treat. I played played Fox Harbor in Nova Scotia. I've been on some nice tracks. I just got to make more time for it. I absolutely enjoy it. And one of the best things is I know I'm no good at it, so I don't get frustrated and angry at myself. It's you got to reach a certain level before you get mad at how you perform at something. So I'm not there yet. So I just smile and enjoy it most of the time. The musicals, my daughter is big time into it. She just, her high school just did Mean Girls as their performance, and she was Regina George. So I saw a different side of my daughter playing that part. So for anyone that's into musicals, it's a really great show that's just came out in the last few years. Musicals is something that's big in my family because of my wife and my daughter. But Come From Away is one of my favorites, and also one of the shows that touches home with Newfoundland. So lots of great shows out there. For a guy from North Bay, Ontario, there should be guys I went to high school going, he likes musicals. What the heck's going on with this fella? So go and try it out. There's some great shows out there and some awesome entertainment for sure.
Yeah, Come From Away is an excellent musical. So I'd second that. And being in Milwaukee, obviously you have Milwaukee and Chicago where you get some great acts and have the chance to get away and enjoy the theater. So appreciate your time here today. Good luck as you take on the Marlies tomorrow night. And I know you have to go run a practice here. So appreciate you investing in our listeners here today. And I think, I took away a lot, and I know it'll be beneficial to them.
Okay, guys, I really appreciate the time. It's always enjoyable, and I love what you guys are doing and what you're building there. I know it's been a process, and it just gets better and better each and every year that you guys are building your program. So big believer in it, and I wish you guys the very best.
Thanks for your time, Karl. Really appreciate it.